Okay. Students, can you see the slide? Can anyone reply yes, sir? Am I audible? Students, am I audible? Can you see the slide?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, let me do a quick recap of the concepts what we have understood. Majorly in Unit 1, we discussed about the introduction of risk management, and we understood the meaning of risk and uncertainty, then the various sources of risk, then methods of handling risk, then exposure to work related injury. So those are the concepts what we had discussed in Unit 1. Then in Unit 2, majorly we understood about risk measurement, then evaluating the frequency and the severity of the losses. Then after that, financial analysis in risk management and the decision making and other risk management tools. See, this subject is concerned, it's a completely theoretical subject. And in Unit 3, that is the present unit what we are discussing now. So majorly when we speak about the risk management, one of the important concept what we understood was insurance. See, insurance, we understood insurance risk and the definition of insurance. Then we even understood the significance of insurance, or why insurance is required for any individual or any organization presently. Then we even studied the basic characteristics of insurance. Then by this time we even understood the major difference between insurance, investment, and gambling. Then after that, we discussed about insurance versus hedging. Now let me ask a question to the students who are present here. Can anyone tell me one difference between insurance and hedging, or what is insurance and what is hedging? Anybody? What is insurance and when we have to take the position of hedging? Or what, even if it is wrong, you have to speak, students. What do you understand by the term called as insurance and hedging, or what is the basic difference between them? So both are used to manage the risk. But what exactly is insurance and hedging? In your own words, you can tell. Yes. Okay. I need to call the name, I believe, huh? Anybody? Divya? Swapnil? What is hedging?
Insurance means it's the protection from financial, sir.
Huh? Insurance is
It's protection of finance.
protection of finance. And what is hedging?
Yes, sir. Don't know that.
Okay. Anybody? Swapnil at least tried. That is what he meant to say was insurance is a financial tool or a contract which is designed to minimize or completely eliminate the risk of loss either to life and even property. So insurance even can be defined, we understood, no, as a tool which involves the payment of a premium in the form of the payment of a sum in the form of premium by the insured, to whom we are paying, to the insurance company. So in turn, what we are getting the risk coverage, right? So insurance involves what? A legal contract. Then what is hedging? Anybody? I think we have discussed even in investment management too, and here also in risk management. I've told you hedging. Yeah, try to tell in your own words. We have a discussion
Sir,
session. Yeah, Shruti.
sir,
Yeah, Shruti, you are audible. Tell me. Or you
Hello.
can, tell me, Shruti. Yes.
Sir, hedging is an investment strategy which can reduce from the losses and increase the gain in the stock market.
How can you justify,
Like,
Shruti? Give us one simple example and justify. Okay. Let me explain you now. I think all of you have understood insurance, basic definition of insurance by this time. Yashaswini?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So,
Now let me explain the term called as hedging. That is very, very important. Okay. Now, what is the current market price of, say, Infosys today, as on yesterday's closing? Today, market is closed. So, as on yesterday, I want answer from you. What is the current market price of Infosys? The closing as on Friday. Please see and tell me, no problem. What is the current market price of Infosys as on yesterday's closing, 3:30? Minaj, Swapnil, Divya, Saujanya, what was the closing price of Infosys as on yesterday? That's my question.
sir, it's 1347.50.
You are telling NSE or BSE, ma? Which
Say
market?
NSE.
Okay, let me see.
1356.
1356, no? So let me see here. I'll go to the, yes.
Sir, it was today's open, I told of.
Today markets are open, huh?
The opening price I told.
No, today market is closed, ma. Saturday and Sunday the markets will be closed, okay?
no, sir, it's not
Yes,
today,
sir.
Okay.
today, sir.
All of you can see the screen, NSE website.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me see what was the closing of Infi as on yesterday. You can see 1356. It is up by how much? What you can see in the screen over there. Yes, I want everybody to be active now. Come on. What you can see the screen over there. It is up by how much? 16.70 Indian rupee. Correct. 1.25%. So till here everyone has understood. I am explaining the concept of hedging. So I am basically explaining you the difference between hedging as well as insurance. So till here everyone has understood. That means to purchase one equity share of Infosys in the cash market, how much you have to pay? You have to speak, students, on your audio, no problem. Everybody on your audio, keep speaking. So in order to purchase one share of Infosys, how much you have to pay to the broker?
So 1356.
1356.
Okay. So all of you know we are entering into cash market. So we are paying 1356. Now why we are purchasing? Because the company valuations are good. Might be the company valuations are good. So we think that in the future the company price might go up. So that is the reason we purchase, right? To make the profit. Suppose in the cash market, I go for what? Delivery buying. I'm using the word called as delivery buying. Are you understanding, students? I am doing delivery buying. Okay. So when I am doing delivery buying, I need to pay 1356 for one share. Suppose if I purchase 100 shares of Infosys, what is the total amount I need to pay to the broker? 1,35,600. Correct? 1356 multiplied by 100. And when the price, so where will be the shares? Okay, that's my question to you. Where will be the shares when I do the demand, when I do the delivery buying? Where will be the shares? When once the order is executed, it will be there in my demat account. All of you know, at least reply in the chat box, yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. Fast.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So 1356 multiplied by what is the quantity? 100. So 1,35,600 is the total amount what I'm paying. And after paying to the broker, since I'm doing a delivery buying, so these shares will be present in my Demat account. True? So
Yes, sir.
if the price goes to 1,400, I'm repeating, if the price goes to 1,400 in a week time, what is the net profit I'm getting, students? Can anyone tell me?
1,40,000.
Per share,
Hey, what is
sir,
the...
per share it is 44 rupees.
So how much? What is the quantity I bought? My question to you is, if the price goes to 1,400, what is the net profit I'm gonna get?
It's 4,400.
How 4,400, Yashaswini?
So, for one share it's a 44 rupees. profit.
Multiplied by
Then
100. That is the
100.
total quantity.
Yes, sir.
So the total profit which I'll be getting if the share price goes up, it is 4,400. So
Yes,
this
sir.
is about the cash market, what I explained you. I purchase it, I do a delivery buying of the Infosys company. So it will be there in my Demat account. And then I'll be doing a delivery selling of the shares. So the net profit, if the share price goes to 1,400 per share, I'm getting a profit of 44 rupee. So the total quantity what I have is 100. So if I do the delivery selling, it is 44 multiplied by 100, which is 4,400 rupee, the net profit what I'll be getting. Now, why hedging is required? Let me explain you the concept. Please concentrate. Students, all are with me? Kindly reply in the chat box, yes, sir. All are
Yes,
attentive?
sir.
Type in the chat
Yes,
box,
sir.
yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. I want to see yes, sir now. Fast. Oh, someone has here also. Okay, fast. That's great. That's great. Okay. Now, all of you are with me. Now, I told you good positive thing. If the price goes to 1,400, I will be getting 44 rupee profit per share. That means 4,400 rupee profit for 100 quantity. Now, suppose if the price comes to 1,200, I'm repeating, if the price comes to 1,200, what is the net loss to me? Am I incurring loss here? If the price comes to 1,200, my purchase price was 1,356, the total quantity was 100, and if the price comes to 1,200, what is the net loss to me? Anybody?
15,600.
Very good. So it is per share I'm incurring a loss of 156 rupee multiplied by 100. So it is 15,600 is the total net loss for me what I'm incurring. Right. So now all of you understood the profit and loss part. So profit if the price goes up compared to my purchase price, and loss if the price comes down compared to my purchase price. Now, how to avoid this loss, students? It's a risk, right? Risk of what? Risk of losing money in the equity market. So price might come down due to a lot of factors, right? We have studied in investment management. There are a lot of factors which can have a direct influence on the particular company. So it can be due to the company's poor performance or some negative factor about the company, or this COVID situation, what we are seeing presently, that's a negative situation. So due to it, the price might come down because of the bears who are entering in the market. So how to avoid this loss? If the price goes up, I'll be in profit in the cash market. But if the price comes down compared to my current, compared to my purchase price, then I'll be incurring the loss. So how to avoid that? So what I'll be doing, I'll be entering into a derivative market. I'll be hedging my position. Please understand the term called as hedging here. I'll be hedging my position. In the cash market, I have purchased Infosys at 1,356. And in the derivative market, I'll be entering into put option. So what happens? Please understand, students. If the price goes up, I'll be in profit. If the price comes down, since I have entered into put option, I have sold the shares in the derivative market. So here I'll be getting 156 rupee, but here I'll be losing 156 rupee. So plus 156 minus 156, which is equal to 0. So I'm trying to create a situation wherein I'll not get the profit, I'll not incur the loss. That is called as hedging, right? So hedging is a how do you define hedging now? Hedging is an investment strategy, as told by Shruti, that we can use to protect from the losses, and we can increase the potential gains in the stock market. So hedging, what is the situation? We created a situation wherein we will not get the profit, nor we will incur the losses. So majorly hedging is a tool used for handling the risks that are typically uninsurable. So hedging even involves only risk transfer, not risk reduction. So if we have not taken our position in the derivative market, we would have incurred the losses if the price comes down, since we have taken a long position in the cash market. Right, all of you? And the similar case, we can take an example of gold. So what happens in commodity market? You will take a long position thinking that the gold commodity might go up. But if the gold commodity comes down, you will be incurring the losses. So what you will do in the physical market, you will purchase gold, and in the commodity market, you will sell gold. So making your net profit or loss to be equal to 0. It is called as no profit, no loss situation. Now, suppose if you have not taken or if you have not hedged your position, then you will be incurring the losses. So majorly to avoid the losses, we will be entering into hedging. So that is the major difference between insurance as well as hedging. So all of you understood? Kindly reply in the chat box, yes sir, yes sir, yes sir, I want to see. If you have not understood this, please ask me. Hedging, some of you, if you are entering into as a financial analyst or into any finance company as an analyst, so you should be knowing these terminologies before entering over there. Any student has got any queries on this, please ask me. The basic difference between hedging as well as insurance. Now, what is investment and speculation? What is the difference between investment and speculation, students? What is the difference between investment and speculation? We have studied earlier. Steven?
So,
yeah.
So investment is done for a long-term period, sir, like 1 year to 5 years.
Okay, perfect.
And speculation is a short-term period, so it's kind of a gambling, sir.
It's kind of a gambling. You are using the wrong word. It's kind of a intraday.
Intraday, yes, sir.
Gambling is very, very short term. Speculation is
Yes,
what? Intraday, basically. You take your position and come out of the position on the same day. Very good, Stephen. Investment is concerned, it is for long term, as well as speculation is concerned, it is for short term. Now, we have even understood about fundamental and technical analysis. So which method we use for long-term investment and which method we use for short-term investment?
Sir, long-term investment we use fundamental analysis, and
correct.
Short-term analysis we use the technical analysis.
Very good. So please understand this, how to manage the risk when it comes to equity market. Suppose how to bifurcate the people here. We have to understand the time horizon. Now, people who are interested in long-term investment, so we need to tell them that before investing in any particular company, please understand the company financials. The fundamental of the company is very important. Into which sector it is operating, whether it is operating in IT sector, IT-enabled services, pharma sector. So since our investment is for very long term, we need to understand the stock or the company where we are investing, where we are putting our hard-earned money. Whereas a speculator or a person who is into a very short-term money-making strategy, so he'll normally go for technical analysis. He'll just draw the graphs, understand the trends, whether it is an upward trend, a downward trend, or it is flat. He will basically understand the movement of a particular company for a short-term basis. It can be for hourly basis or a minute basis or a intraday basis or a weekly basis. A weekly charts can be plot, right? So the objectives here are very simple. A guy who is looking for a long-term investment is go for fundamental analysis. A guy who is looking for a short-term trading or short-term speculation, as Steven mentioned, he'll definitely go for technical analysis. Right? So after understanding the terminologies like insurance, gambling, or insurance hedging, and even investment also, you people know that, investment is normally for long term. It ranges from greater than 1 year onwards. So according to all of you, I want to know which is better, investment or speculation?
Investment, sir.
Investment, sir.
Okay. Why you don't think that in speculation we can make money? Or only in investment we can make money? Yes, Steven?
So speculation is a bit risky, sir.
Okay. Very good. He's using the word called as risky. So in speculation, since the time duration or the time horizon involved is very less compared to investment, you don't have much time over there. You take your position and you have to come out of your position making the profit or the losses. So since the time duration is involved in speculation is very, very less, so managing the risk becomes challenging. You understand? So time plays a very, very important role when it comes to investment or speculation. So always your objective should be very clear before managing the risk. If you are a long-term player, you can definitely hedge your position. So if you are a short-term player, it becomes very challenging to find out the hedging strategies, because the position what you are taking will be only for short-term. Okay. Good, very good. So I think by this time you have understood the meaning clearly about insurance, then investment, speculation, then even hedging. Now I'll take you to the last component of this particular topic, that was the responsibilities, duties, and even the powers of Insurance Regulatory Development Authority. So before that, all are with me? Kindly reply in the chat box, yes sir, yes sir, yes sir, so that I can continue. Okay, perfect. That means all are very attentive. So the last part of this particular unit that is very important also, what we can say, that is the duties, the responsibility, duties and powers of IRDA. See, as I mentioned to you regarding IRDA, that is the regulatory body of Indian insurance sector. So the government of India decided to open up the insurance sector to provide better coverage to the citizens. And when was IRDA enacted? Yesterday I mentioned. Which year IRDA was enacted? Okay. Yeah, anybody?
Sir, 1999.
Who is this, Shruti?
Sir.
Okay, very good. It was enacted in the year 1999. And Shruti, can you just elaborate what was the major objective of this IRDA? Why it was formed?
No, sir, I don't.
Why was IRDA formed? What was the major reason of forming this IRDA, or what is the major objective of IRDA?
Design, policies and I don't know, sir.
Yes, anybody? Why was IRDA formed? Yeah, what is the objective of IRDA?
So it was majorly formed for the supervision and to bring improvement in the insurance policies, sir.
Very good. majorly to safeguard the interest of people, correct, for regulating, promoting, and even the ensuring the proper growth of industry. So here what we'll understand is the role of IRDA, and I'm repeating, this is one of the most important part here. Explain the responsibility, duties, and powers of IRDA. Okay, so the first role would be to safeguard the interests of the policyholders and to provide them a fair treatment. So when I say about the fair treatment, so it can be uniform to all the people who are investing or who are putting their money into or who are paying the premiums. And then to ensure speedy and proper growth of the insurance industry in order to benefit a regular public as well as the economy. Then to set the benchmarks for the performance of the insurance industry. Then even we understood that for ensuring that the policyholders are provided with the correct and clear information, it is also ensured that they know their rights and responsibilities. Then after that, to ensure that the claims are settled in a fair and fast manner. Then after that, to evaluate the proper amount of self-regulation in the industry. See, for example, majorly for providing, for promoting the fair practices, transparency and the proper conduct in the industry. That means earlier what was happening was a lot of mis-selling of these insurance products happened. People used to sell insurance products by telling false commitments. So in order to avoid all these kind of malpractices or the unethical practices, so IRDA came. So when I say mis-selling, it can be it can be misrepresentation of a product or services, or it can lead to paying the rebate to the people. So majorly, a lot of agents or banking officials, they were mis-selling the products, about especially the insurance products. Okay. Then after that, we will majorly understand some of the important duties and powers of IRDA. The first and the foremost, as everybody know, what we discussed yesterday, the registration is concerned. That is issuance, renewal, withdrawal, and even the cancellation of, registration. Then the next would be, protection. It aims to safeguard majorly the interest of all the policy holders, and it also takes care of other issues such as nomination, settlement, surrender, and other terms and condition. See, protecting the interest of the policy holders in matters concerning, that is assigning of insurance policy. And very important thing is, registration is concerned, that is issuance, renewal, withdrawal, and the cancellation of certification of registration. And the code of conduct, that is IRDA set up the code of conduct for loss assessors and surveyors. And IRDA even promotes the level of efficiency in the industry. And when it comes to professionalism, IRDA promotes and regulates the organizations related with the business of insurance and even reinsurance too. See, let me show you the official website of IRDA. Kindly see, students, Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India, you have consumer education websites. That means majorly to create awareness among all the insurance products. So this is the official website of IRDA. So you can see your annual reports, committee reports, press releases, public and grievances. See, a lot of awareness campaign also will be done through IRDA, policyholders handbook, consumer affairs, insurance laws, that is acts, rules, and even the regulations. And we can even see the updated regulations, that is gazetted notified. history of insurance in detail. And when it comes to insurers, we can see about life, general, reinsurance, and even health insurance. See, this particular website you will be getting in case of, if you want to contact in case of any mis-selling of the insurance products or any problem which you have faced, you can directly contact the head office and file a related anything related to the complaints. You can file here. Address of IRDA officials. So what we can understand here is IRDA is concerned is majorly set up to safeguard the interests of investors or the people. Then IRDA Act 1990, which was enacted in 1999 to provide for the establishment of IRDA to protect the interests of policyholders, majorly to regulate, promote, and ensure orderly growth of the industry. Then some of the important features of IRDA would be like IRDA shall consist of a chairman, not more than 5 whole-time members, and even not more than 4 part-time members. So the members are expected to have knowledge or experience in life insurance, general insurance, then even actuarial science, finance, economics, and even a lot of students to be, think you need to even keep seeing IRDA career page also. So a lot of recruitment will be happening here. Let me show you that also. I think few students can even apply. See your employment at the top, employment notice or roster. If you visit here, you will be getting all the notifications. Employment notice. See, the latest one was on 30th April 2021. Applications invited for the, this is not for you people, to the office of chairperson. Ensure you can keep visiting, and almost a lot of recruitments will be happening directly in the regulatory body too. So IRDA, what we are understanding now, features of IRDA. The IRDA shall have the duty to regulate, promote, and ensure orderly growth of the insurance and even the reinsurance business in India. And IRDA can issue a certificate of registration or renew, modification, withdraw, suspend, or even cancel such registration. And very important feature of IRDA is the protection of policyholders' interest, maintaining the quality in professional workforce and intermediaries of the industry by regulating and developing professional bodies. And even the government can decide what a policy matter is for IRDA and give directions on such policy matters. And even students, the government can also suspend the authorities of IRDA for a period not exceeding 6 months if the directions of Government of India are not complete with. In such eventuality, Government of India will appoint a person as the controller of insurance to carry out the directions related to the insurance sector. Then we will try to understand some of the IRDA Act 1999, that is for life insurance. The Oriental Life Insurance Company of Calcutta introduced life insurance to India in 1818. I think we have discussed. Then what happened was in 1999, the IRDA was established to regulate and develop the insurance industry in India. So majorly, some of the important regulations for life insurance was like, composite insurance. That is, current IRDA regulations do not favor composite insurance, which is the combination of life and non-life insurance products sold through the same company. Then agent commissions are concerned, a wide range of life insurance products is available. Yet existing barriers such as claim settlement process and a commission structure that favors new business over the existing ones limit their penetration in rural areas. Then we have IRDA training requirements. See, when we speak about IRDA training, that is the IRDA published a document entitled the concept paper on need for regulations on microinsurance in India. So, however, it is also raised quality control concerns with its recommendation to reduce the training requirements of NGO life insurance agents from 50 to 25 hours. See, before applying for IRDA exam, I'm telling for you people, okay, before applying for IRDA exam, the interested candidates has to get 50 hours training from a training institute, which is IRDA approved, which has to be IRDA approved to act as a life or a general insurance agent. So for the candidates who have to become a composite, that is life and general insurance agent, have to complete 75 hours of training. And if you are looking for IRDA 75 hours of training, you can go to training completion certificate, that is in Insurance Institute of India, or many other authorized partners are there. So you can get the training from them. And then you have to clear the examination. And now what they have done is, from the applicant shall have to undergo at least 100 hours of training in life or general insurance. And the time that will be allotted for the composite training shall at least 150 hours. See the how much deep knowledge you should be having when you are before selling any insurance product. And the training duration should be minimum 18 days for 100 hours training and 27 days for 150 hours training, with maximum 6 hours per day. And no product training or market survey should be included into this 150/100/50 hours. And very important is, students, please know, every institute should have at least one qualified permanent, or the where you are getting the training, I'm telling you. So this examination is again valid across India. If you clear IRDA examination, you can sell the insurance products. And the last part of this is IRDA regulations on licensing of insurance agents. See, every insurer, that is insurance company, is required to nominate an official duly approved by the IRDA who will issue or renew the licenses. So this officer will be known as the designated person. See, a person or can be appointed as an agent by the company if he should be the citizen of our country, that is India, or at least 18 years of age on the date of application. Then after that, he should not have been a person of unsound mind, as I mentioned to you yesterday, by a court of competent jurisdiction, or has not been found guilty of criminal misappropriation or criminal breach, and even has he should have has passed the pre-recruitment examination in life or general insurance business to be conducted by the Insurance Institute of India. And very important is, has not violated the code of conduct of agents. And the last part here is IRDA, that is Protection of Policyholders Regulations, which was in the year 2002. See, IRDA's regulations to protect the interest of insurance policyholders are majorly highlighted in the regulations, which was in 2002. So what exactly it says is, a prospectus of any insurance product shall clearly state the scope of benefits and the extent of the insurance cover, and in an explicit manner explain the warranties, exceptions, and even the conditions of the insurance cover. And then an insurer or its agent, very important, an insurer or its agent or other any intermediary shall provide all the material information with respect to a proposed cover to the prospect to enable the prospect to decide on the best cover that would be in a interest. That means all the information should be clearly mentioned. So a person who is entering into the insurance or a contract, who is signing the contract, should be made known each and every information about that particular contract. So earlier, if you have seen the ad of mutual funds, they would have told mutual funds market is pleased with the offer document carefully before investing, like that. Okay, but SEBI told that that ad or whatever that particular word was there, that has to be very, very clear. So the clarity should be there for all the people, right? So where the prospect demands upon the advice of the insurer or his agent or any insurance intermediary, such a person must advise the prospect dispassionately. And in the process of sale, the insurer or its agent or any intermediary shall act according to the code of conduct prescribed by whom? Prescribed by IRDA. and the recognized professional body or association of which the agent or intermediary or insurance intermediary is a member. So these are some of the protection of policyholders' interest regulations by IRDA, which was given in the year 2002. Okay, students, I'll end the session. I hope all of you have understood today's interesting thing that was on hedging and IRDA. You can exit, students.